Right, good morning ladies and gentlemen, Tom here. I'm joined by Tim today because the video that we were going to say we were going to make last year is finally about to happen. We are going to talk about my CS325. So I brought Tim along today because he is the head mechanic on the project when he's not, busy doing RC.
I prefer the term technician. So we'll just stick to technician.
All right, so he's a technician. He's a lead technician on the project. It's taken about, what, 18 months, maybe a bit less?
To this point.
To this point.
How long, so we got to the stage where we're actually driving it?
Yeah, we're at the stage now where the car is in a very good condition. And we thought we'd answer a few of your questions. So a couple of months ago, I put on a Q&A thing on Instagram and was like, if you've got any questions, let me know, I'll answer them. And I've just done another one today. So we're going to go through some of the questions, some of the answers, and just answer what you want to know about the car. So should we start with the first question then, Tim?
Right, so I've got the questions here that Tom sent me.
Okay.
And there's just a big long list. So I'm just going to pick them out at random.
Yeah.
And then we'll just go from there.
Okay.
So why did you choose this car and not any other, maybe in another colour?
Well, the main reason I chose the car to start with was because of the colour, to be honest. Imola red, it's a
very rare colour. Like I haven't seen many other ones.
Yeah.
Especially not ones that, obviously this isn't an M3, which we'll get onto in a bit, but you see a few more M3s in it because it's an individual colour, so it's quite an expensive, optional extra.
Yeah.
So you don't usually see them on something which isn't the top level car. But yeah.
Yeah, and then we were looking online for different cars when we were in Germany. And first of all, what we wanted to do is we wanted to buy something that was a right-hand drive, because at the time, that was the car that I was used to driving, was a right-hand drive. I'd never driven a left-hand drive car before. So that's what we chose, and because they're cheaper to buy them in England, by a long way, like literally a third of the price. So we looked online and we found this one in London, and maybe we'll do like a little story time video. Me and Tim explain when we went and picked it up and stuff.
That's definitely another story for another time.
But so the reason why a 325, people say, why didn't you get a 330? To be honest with you, it was just one that I found and one that I liked. Nothing more, nothing less than that.
The other thing is, if you look at actually what more does the 330 give you? It gives you bigger brakes, which you've got anyway, because you've got the bigger brakes from the 330 on front and rear,
yep,
including rear subframe, and it gives you around, I think it's about 30 to 40 more horsepower.
Yep.
And well, first of all, the brakes are covered anyway, and for you, it's the first time you're going to drive a car on the ring that's your own.
Yep.
You don't need to go adding power.
Yep.
Like, everyone knows you can go more than quick enough with less than 200 horsepower.
Yeah, so I think that kind of answers that question. So should we go to the next one?
Right, next one. How much does it get driven?
How much does it get driven? Well, it's my daily car, so it gets driven every day, but on the actual track, not as much as I'd like to, if I'm honest with you.
We've probably
a
done
number
more,
of reasons, but
we've done more GP sessions than we have.
Yeah.
We're basically looking for an opportunity to drive the car on track, on a track day, really, because basically whenever the track's open, we're both working.
We're working. That's
Tom's
the
doing
mixture.
his thing.
Yeah.
I'm doing my thing at driving.
Yeah.
So we don't really. I haven't driven a single lap for myself on the track this year.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm driving laps every day for taxi.
Yeah.
But for myself, I haven't done a single one. So we need to try and either find a time when we're both free.
Yeah.
Or a track day. So,
I mean, I get the odd lap in that, then and there, and whenever it's quiet. Usually when it's raining as well, like I go and do a lap. I think it's going to be something that changes. I think the more the year goes on, the more,
I would say it's not necessarily a bad thing, because you've had quite a bit of experience on GP track now, mainly because the GP track isn't always open at the same time as the ring.
Yeah.
And the GP track gives you space to learn how the car is before you end up going out there where you've got very confined space.
Yeah. So there's that one. So next one?
Let's pick another one. What's next on the build?
What's next on the build? I'm going to show you what's next on the build because it needs doing, and that is this. So the wheel arch liners, I've been told, is something that can get quite rusty.
It's a common issue on all E46s. Front and rear arches. We've been pretty lucky with this car because this is literally the only arch that's affected. The rear arches are immaculate. So I think the car was probably garaged in its previous life.
Yeah.
Because that is literally the only bit of rust on the car, so you've done pretty well with that.
I mean, one thing we should mention is underneath the car, the bits that you can't really see, everything has been totally changed. It's one of the reasons why it took so long, because I know from the top it looks like we've just put cage and seats in and stuff like that, but like Tim said, We put a 330 brake kit on it. We changed
Full rear
axle was changed. Sorry about the noise, by the way. There's Gran Turismo on there. Everyone's in performantes and stuff. So. But yeah, we changed all the rust, and it's all very, very clean. The only bit of rust on the car is obviously the wheel arch liner, and then the exhaust, which might be something I choose to change at some point. But I don't want it to sound too loud because I don't want people to start thinking it is an M3. That's one of the things I want to avoid. So.
Right, another question. What is the end goal for the car?
The end goal for the car? Well, when I built this car, I built something that I wanted to enjoy driving on the street primarily. Just because I knew that I wasn't going to get out on there a lot anyway, but like something that's a happy medium. So that's why it's a ClubSport kind of spec. It's why it's still got its, you know, its front interior. It's just got nice little bits in there like the wheel and, you know, the seats and I mean, the cage is probably the only thing that doesn't really fit the build, but also something that I actually really enjoy, because when I moved to the Nürburgring, you know, why wouldn't you get a full cage in the car is my answer, to be honest. Like,
yeah. Right, another one. I'll probably, well, we'll both chip in, but this is one more for me, really. Build specifics, the specifications and the costs. So why don't I talk about the build specifics and you talk about the costs?
Okay.
Yeah? So, like Tom said, it is a 325, it's not an M3. And that was a very important spec decision, because whenever you go into M3 stuff, you start looking into, like, you're basically looking a normal part, say a wishbone, 2 to 3 times the cost of a standard normal specification car compared to an M3. So, the specification of the car is mainly standard. Every bush has been replaced with a powerful exciter. You've got the 330 brake kit and rear axle, so that's trailing arms, subframe and control arms, that's all 330. On the front axle you've got 330 front hubs, front brakes, new wishbones across the axle, standard steering rack but with new tie rolls and tie rod ends. The engine's standard, the gearbox is standard again, but all the engine mounts and everything, that's all fresh. And inside you've got the Veach 6-point roll cage, and this I believe has got nearly every option ticked.
Yeah.
On the
only option I didn't tick was lightweight steel, because why would you want to make a race car lighter? Well, doesn't make any logical sense, but at the time, you know, I didn't know what I was ordering, and I just thought it looked cool. To be honest with you, that is the outright truth of that.
And then basically the last thing left is your tyres and your wheels. So it's I can't remember exactly which style it is, the wheel, but you're running Michelin Pilot Sport 4 front and rear. In the rear is a 245 section and the front's a 225 section, and at some point we're looking at making a square setup. Ideally we want to find another set of rear wheels, so we have a matching set of rears, front and rear, to make the car match. But one of the decisions we made during the build was what tyre do we go for. Now we could have got a very good deal on a Nankang or a semi-slick of some description, but obviously the car is used every day, and like Tom said earlier in the video, if we do get a chance to lap, often it's wet. So we wanted something which is basically going to perform in all weathers. And to be honest, I think this tyre fits this build absolutely perfectly. Obviously if you're doing a track day or something like that and you're doing a purpose, dry day, maybe we'll swap it with something else. But as it is, I think it all works really nicely. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else really in terms of the specification of the car. Everything's just new. Since we did all the work on the car, there hasn't been a single piece of maintenance we've had to do. It's just run and run and run. And that's what's important here. Like people chasing power and all that sort of stuff, forget about it. Make the car reliable. New wheel bearings, anything that's a consumable type part, replace it, make it new. Start fresh. And when you drive the car, it feels like it literally drives like a brand new car.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a brand new car.
Suspension, something else.
Yes.
So we were going to go. Originally, the idea was to go with a coilover type setup, like KW or something like that. But in the end, we went for again a more beginner focused or wet setup focused setup. So we've gone with the KWST traditional style dampers, and then the H&R springs front and rear. And then joined with the H&R stiffened anti-roll bars. So it gives you a little bit more of a compliant ride, but then the support's still there because you've got the roll bar. And obviously it gives you the race car stance as well, which is
that's one of the things that I think people often comment on is the stance of the car. They always ask kind of like, what spaces are on it. Is it like, well, a lot of people ask if it is an M3. It isn't an M3, and yeah, it's just really nice thing to look at. Right, okay, Tim. So talk to us about camber.
So yeah, camber on the car. So we've got, obviously the car's been aligned and set up. We've got non-adjustable top mounts on the front, but they're just the OEM items. But to get more camber, you can run the left one on the right side and the right side on the left side if you remove the mounting lug, and that gives you more camber. So we're running more camber on the front, around, I think it's around 2 degrees on the front and 1.5 on the rear, and then we're running neutral toe on the front and a tiny bit of toe in on the rear just to keep it stable on the brakes, but still to give you that quite urgent turn in, which I think has worked well. In terms of like what parts we've used for the costs, now obviously that's up to Tom whether he wants to speak about that, but I will say in terms of what's being used, everything's OEM or better. In terms of the parts that have been used, so like all the wheel bearings and the replacement bushes is obviously Powerflex. So you can't go out there and just buy a better OEM item, if that makes sense. So it's as good a quality as you can get without going full aftermarket. So that's where we're at with that one.
And that's one of the things that Tim was like very strict on, to be fair, was buying all the proper stuff, because there's so much stuff out there that you could buy. And what was you saying? Buy once, buy well, buy twice, buy something. I don't know. Basically, you buy it twice wrong or buy it once right. So everything on that cage is just full spec, and then obviously has to all be tooth appliant. But I think, to be honest, I'm going to do a different video on tooth, because me and you have basically spent the last 2 years learning how to get an English car onto German plates and be fully legal. So
it is a simple process, and most people overthink it.
Exactly.
But it's something which you do have to think about it.
Yeah.
Because there's quite a lot of costs incurred in the process that you don't think about.
But yeah, keep out for that coming soon on another video. But for now, next question.
Why did you buy an E46 and what mileage does it have?
E46?
E46. Why did you buy an E46 and what's the mileage?
E46 because Tim told me to buy an E46. No. In all seriousness, it's because it's just a very, very good platform.
Yeah, and like if you look at any car, like the thing is, if you come to Nürburgring, what are the cars you see the most? BMW, Porsche, quite a lot of McLaren now, to be fair. But you just go, there's a reason you see a lot of them.
Yeah.
E36s, E46s, E92s, super reliable. They run and run, especially the E46. It's got such nice balance. It's just such a nice platform to start with. And they're reliable, in terms of the actual engines. Like, you look at a lot of engines, like especially turbocharged engines these days, and they're just, they are the weak points. But with this one, all we did is like new radiator, new fuel hoses, water hoses, any consumable part, water pump, everything's all new, and then it just runs and runs. In terms of mileage, that was like quite an important factor when we were looking for the car, but I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, mileage. So the mileage of the car now is 104,000 miles. When I picked up the car, it was on 98,000 miles.
So you've not done much then?
Done nothing on it, to be fair. But yeah, then that's the mileage of the car. It was all had a good service history. It all looked like it had, decent money spent on it throughout the years, and it had been garaged. So yeah, I mean, it's just, I think it had, what was it, 2 owners?
I think it had 2 previous owners.
2 previous owners, so it's not been thrown about. So one of the reasons why I actually picked this one. But yeah, the mileage is pretty good, to be fair. For a car of the car was built in 2002, so a car with 17 years on it, 104,000 miles, I don't think it's too bad.
Next question.
Next question.
How easy or how hard was the build?
How hard or how easy was the build? Well, this is where experience comes into it, because Tim, if you don't know about Tim's previous car, he literally built an E36 from the shell up, like completely changed it. So I think if he can do that, doing that shouldn't be too much of an issue. So in terms of building it, I think it was fairly easy, I'd say.
The hardest thing was finding the time.
That
was the hardest thing, because you have to account for, it's like, it might only take, you might think, it only takes, I don't know, a day to change the rear subframe and the rear axle. But then you have to think, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? And the car's stuck on the lift.
Yeah.
And then, it's all these different factors. So you have to find time, a slot, which gives you enough buffer time on either side. And doing that last season was difficult.
Yeah. And also something that I want to add as well is, you can't rush this. Like, you're literally building something that you're going to be driving out on there. you know, you've got no room for error. You've got to make sure everything's absolutely bang on, and that's one of the reasons why things took longer, is because we just wanted to make sure it was right. You know, like throwing in a 6 point, point cage. Throwing in a 6 point cage is like obviously something that's not something you need to just like throw in. You need to think about it and plan it out, and then get it in and put it in properly. And that's one of the reasons why things took long, but it's also one of the reasons why the finish of the car is so much nicer now as well. So
it was definitely worth it. Like if you look where the cage like goes into the carpet and stuff, like it's just seamless. It looks, it's Porsches, man. It looks OEM.
Yeah.
Like, you know, well, I wouldn't say OEM, but it definitely looks as if it's a factory derived product, which is what we were aiming for as well. To be fair.
Okay, TGL. Next question.
Is it finished yet?
Is it finished yet? Do you ever finish a car? That's the question that I want to put back to you. At this point, yeah, I think the car for me is kind of finished. Like, it gets to a point where, you know, where do you stop spending cash on it? I mean, the next stage for me would probably be putting full adjustable suspension on it, but, you know, you start thinking, should I do something like that, or should I keep the money back and then maybe buy an E92 daily? But maybe more for that later.
Yeah. I think final question.
Yeah.
And it's one for you more than it is for me, because obviously you're the one that drives the car.
Yep.
But can you actually feel the difference? And I'm also interested, like,
okay,
obviously you've driven a stock car as it was stock, you've driven a bit in, something in between, and you've driven it as it is now.
Yeah.
Are you feeling the difference step by step?
Yeah, 100% massively feeling the difference. The main difference for me was, there's two big moments when it started feeling different. The first one when we put the cage in. We put the cage and the anti-roll bars in at the same time, so basically everything just became a lot stiffer. Gives you so much more confidence. You could really feel like the rear axle working. You could feel what the car was doing. So that was the main big difference. And then the second difference was when we changed the seat mounts, because originally the seat mounts were quite high. If you watched Misha's vlog, I'll probably insert a little bit of it here. You'll see that people were banging their heads on the roof cage. So we took them out and we actually fabricated our own seat mounts. And when you were sitting like nice and low, it made it feel so much sportier. You felt something more connected to the shell. And right now it just feels unbelievable. I drove a Clio RS, an EDC Clio RS in the UK, and that feel, I went home and drove it over Christmas. That car feels nothing like that. Like, honestly, I don't know if it's because it's being like blasted on English roads, but that car is so much better to drive, and it's so much more balanced. You can feel everything working, and it's just so much more of a great experience. So, yeah, to answer your question, yeah, good. You can feel it.
It was worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's gonna probably be it for now. If you've got any more questions about the car, let me know in the comments below. I can always do another video on this and speak a little bit more about it, and, you know, answer any more questions you guys have. But yeah, I want to thank everyone who's been watching the build on Instagram and throughout the year. There's going to be more content from this car coming up soon. That's kind of the reason why I even started this YouTube channel. And then he's got something coming soon, but I'm going to keep that a secret, okay? Because he's got a big build coming up.
Big build coming soon.
So yeah, that's me, that's Tim, that's the car. So thank you for watching. Hit subscribe if you're new, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff.
Hit it, fucking smash it.
Smash the bell. And we will see you guys in the next one. All right, nice one, cheers.